Hello y'all, welcome back. As you can see, F1 2025 is out, and dare I say I've been actually enjoying driving the game for what it's been out so far. Ran through Breaking Point. I'm looking forward to some of the movie tie-in stuff coming. But it's been fun enough, I think it's time to restart up the My Team series. So we are going to jump into My Team, which is a little different this year as you don't put yourself as a driver on the grid. You kind of take the team principal role. So it's still all the same research development, a little bit more to deal with fans and, influence and the cash running. And of course, you then jump into one of your two cars each weekend, taking over one of the drivers. So as we go through the settings here, AI difficulty, we're going to start on 107. We'll see where we end up over the course of the year. Obviously, it may fluctuate up and down. And we'll take the typical format that we usually do, the one single 18-minute qualifying session and 50% distance races for the full calendar. We are turning all the faults on, so we may be DNF'd, and we are leaving the resource rates and all that the same. Typical difficulty that we would, restrictions, so strict corner cutting, especially. You can already kind of cheese the curbs a little more than the AI, so we will go ahead and make sure that you don't get so hard. We will be switching the recovery mode for the rewinds down to low, so it will in a race only allow you 3 rewinds and then that's it. So hopefully that gives me the opportunity to mess up a little more and have to be a little bit more careful. But here it is, this old bald guy, because there's so limited numbers of people we can make. And that will be our team boss in his absolute awesome corporate casual outfit of his white shirt and jeans and a nice belt and some boots. Well, I guess they're more like dress shoes. But into the facilities we go. So we will set kind of the initial things as far as you get to pick your background, which gives you bonuses to either engineering, your fans, or money. We're going with the money one, and then we're starting with basically from the bottom. No initial development. And of course, we will bring back the world famous Booty Radio F1 team, which really didn't get a full run because I think I started them in 24 and it never really panned out. But that's who we're going to be this time around. So grabbing some of the more important things like title sponsors. So we're going to grab Xenon. Only 10 points needed over the course of the season. We will spend good money on the Ferrari power unit. That'll give us something to work with. And then we will start filling out our driver roster. We do have 4.6 million to play with at the moment. My idea here is let's get a young driver in. And we're taking a look at a couple of them. I think I ended up going with Victor Martins. Good 69 pace on there. But we will plan on driving as him most of the season, because the other driver we're going to opt to go for is going to be one of the icons. It's going to be Joshua Pierce from the upcoming F1 movie. 2 million to sign him, but having a driver 82 overall rating, 85 pace will be a good benchmark to start the season off with, instead of being 2 cheap rookie drivers and having that. So it'll give us a little better idea of what difficulty we need to be on. That being said, it leaves us with not a whole lot of cash in the bank compared to what we could be if we took 2 relatively new drivers. But now we head to the new kind of splash screen. We've got our team colors set it up, the pale orange, pale blue, and white. And now you start to see kind of the fan rating and some of the things you will do. So fan rating will give different bonuses based on what your fan level is at. And so we're taking a look at some of the initial messages that we're going to need. Of course, we'll be breezing through a lot of this stuff as the playthrough goes on. The first one is always going to be very in-depth. R&D looks a little bit different. Similar way of getting your research done. However, now there is the development stage. So after you've researched the part, you then have to spend some money and time building that part. And at the low levels that we are at, you'll only be able to build one copy of a part of an upgrade at a time. So that's where it kind of comes into making choices of who's going to get which upgrades first And we'll try and be balanced, so we won't just all throw them all on my car. But now we've got the time, let's go ahead and clean up the car. We'll skip ahead, so we've got our sponsors all laid out on the car. This will be the challenger for this season. Of course, as you advance and get better and higher rated, you'll open up more sponsor slots. So this is basically the minimum number of sponsor slots. Really like that they've changed around the ability to resize, rotate, reposition all the sponsor logos. Helps make the cars look a little more like cars rather than just the boilerplate. So that should be nice to see in the replays. But last up, all the activities where it used to be a couple of selections. Now you've got selections for all 4 of the categories. And you can see different modifications. Some things will cost money. Other things will, there's always a trade-off. It'll cost money and boost something else up. Otherwise, there are some things that will gain money, but you're going to have to cost yourself some simulator time or that sort of thing for the drivers. So trying to balance at this early stage, just trying to boost what we can as far as ratings go. We do have a innate bonus to cash generation, and we've put on a good amount of sponsors, at least to start with the car here. So I'm focusing on, let's get the development off the floor as much as we can and get the car and team going in the right direction with things that are a little bit more difficult to get a hold of than just the money. So here's the research, aerodynamic calibration. Next, you've got the personnel. So this will be, so you can see preseason tests, driver training camps, promotional tours. You will have to as well when it comes to the drivers. You can see preseason early driver talks. You start the contract process much earlier, so you kind of get an idea of who you're after. That'll be coming up in just a moment. But lastly, corporate events. So you can see the ability to discover additional secondary sponsors, more loyalty. The higher sponsor loyalty you have, the more money you can get from them. It also open up different variants of their logos. Right now, I think everything is basically black and white, but you start to get their colored in ones as you increase the loyalty. So we will jump forward, and you will see that we've got the pipeline of the 2 upgrades should be just about ready on the 2nd of the month.
So,
well before
talks with drivers for next season. They could be ours, or
and here's the driver talks.
For other teams. You should head to the driver comms page to see who you want to consider.
So here we go. So we'll take a look and see, because this is also one thing I didn't know until I just got in here, is it'll give you kind of an expected payment of the drivers for next season. And you can see when we go to open up the market, you can see expected salary for Martins, 2.39 million. Joshua Pierce looking to balloon to 12.3. So odds are we're not going to be able to afford him next season. So the hope is that it will, but we will start in that case having conversations with Paul Aarons in order to make sure we have a more affordable driver ready for the next season. So the idea is make the step that we can with a good driver here and see what we can get. It's possible we'll take a little bit of a step back because of the change in driver, but we'll make good use of Joshua Pierce while we've got him in the team. Last up, you can see engineering. We've finished, I believe we've finished some research, so we can now take a look at something more. We got a few more points to spend, so let's go ahead and take a look at improved gearbox durability. We'll have to worry about that as the year goes on. Oh, right, we haven't quite gotten to the active. Okay. Wait for it. Now, okay, front wings are done. The weight upgrade is done. And so now you go to the development screen where each slot starts with one available development slot. You can also see dual development locked, so we can only make one copy of these in time for the season opener in Australia, one of each. So we'll be able to get those upgrades on the cars, but only one per car. I think the idea is I'm going to try and do a Monopoly style balanced build. And share. So since we got 2 upgrades, one will go on Victor's car, one will go on Joshua's car. And that's where menu will assign the upgrades. But let's advance a little further. Get a few more resource points, a few more bucks, and then the grid reveal, which we'll skip most of. We'll just go for the last shot. But here we are, tucked away in the back left, hiding away from everyone else. The 11th team on the F1 2025 grid. The Challenger starting at the back. I think we're pretty much dead last in the developments. But got a good driver in there. And the field is very close. So not a huge worry.
Hey, Chief. Just a reminder to kick off some research projects. We don't want to fall behind our rivals, and we haven't got anything in the pipeline at the moment. Thanks.
Thank you for that update. We are just a couple points short of new research. However, we can get this gearbox improvement development underway, and you can see this is where I go check. Even though I have 438 resource points, 440 is what is needed for pretty much everything, unfortunately. And of course, as we go through the season, we'll be doing the practice programs. Won't be filming those. We'll just be getting them done so we can get to the action a little quicker. But that will give us discounts on some of the upgrades as we go through the season. But we are approaching our first decision. So who we want? Give more simulator time to either Victor Martins or Joshua Pierce. Let's go ahead and, since I plan on driving as Martins, we will continue to give him kind of the AI assistance boosts, and that'll give us a good benchmark to start the season off. As I said, starting out on the 107 difficulty, and there we are on the development chart, right down at the bottom. Although, like I said, F125 pretty close amongst the back and midfield. So opportunities may be out there for a different or a decent result. We did pick up a few more points by advancing, so let's go ahead and get some more developments going. Usually the chassis is a pretty tough spot on the My Team cars, so we're going to try and focus that one a little bit more than Aero at this stage. Try and get that up because that will impact tire wear. From what I've found driving in the F125 game, tire wear much higher, much more important to manage the tires. So will definitely be something that if we can get an advantage on throughout the season, may net us some points on just better strategy because the tires do fall off quite a bit. Development's still in progress on those. And this is where we can assign those new upgrades. So the front downforce upgrade and a weight reduction upgrade. And I think the idea is we'll put the front wing upgrade on Pierce's car, and we'll go ahead and take the weight reduction for ourselves. Now you can see there's a slight difference between the two cars as far as overall performance goes because of the impact that each of those would have. It looks like Joshua Pierce slightly better by the wiggling of that dotted white line. But dare I say, I think it's time to get to it, to get racing. And here we go, finish up all those activities, and we can now go to the race weekend, starting off the season. Round 1 at Albert Park in Australia. Practice sessions are done and dusted. And here we are with the very familiar laptop screen. Should be dry weather throughout this one. A little bit cloudy coming later on in the session. But let's jump into qualifying and get ourselves on the circuit.
And a warm welcome, everybody. We're here in the heart of Melbourne. It's Albert Park, and it's qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix.
So here we are out on track for the first time in the My Team career mode, and we are winding up for our first flying lap around the Albert Park Australia circuit. So out of the final corner, open the DRS, use some of that overtake battery, and get ourselves charging down the straight. Look for a good braking zone down into the turn 1-2 complex. The first lap here being a little bit on the conservative and safe side. I think in typically what the idea is that we will go for a more conservative first lap throughout the season. We will do 3 qualifying runs typically. The second run will be done, I would say, most often on a used set of soft tires, so the same set that we do the first run on. That way we can do the final run on a fresh set of tires when the track is nice and evolved in. The second run, if the first one, puts up a banker time, the second run will be one that we can really push on a little bit harder, lean into the car more, and of course, the third one is all or nothing. But here we are coming to the final couple of corners of the Albert Park circuit. Very quick sweeper. Fernando Alonso setting the first benchmark in 18.5. Gabriel Bortoleto going a little quicker in 18.1 just ahead of us. And then out of the last corner, full throttle, opening up the DRS, burning the battery, and across the line for a 19.199. So about a second off of a Kick Sauber to start this one. Of course, qualifying is not my forte. Race trim is typically my forte. Lewis Hamilton going 17.7 just before we go in. So here we are for our second lap. This is on a used set of tires. One thing I did notice that's different from 24. F1 24, you could kind of cheese qualifying a little bit by using overtake because the AI would not, and the battery did not fully deploy. I watched the onboard of a couple of the cars going around while I was waiting to go out for the second run, and noticed that the AI now is in fact also using that overtake mode where appropriate. So we are kind of fully unleashed to use as much of that battery as we want. As you can see, I've got a pretty hefty advantage because I'm using that overtake mode in a more strategic manner to try and burn all of it off over the course of one lap. So as far as the instrument cluster goes, as we're working around this second lap, you can see it's changed quite a bit. Obviously, miles per hour, RPM, pretty self-explanatory. The shift lights and gear in the middle. On the left, a few different things that used to be kind of separate bars. So the yellow circle is the overall battery percentage that you have, and that is also reflected in the numerical percentage in the middle. The little green line on the outside of that is how much of your allocation for the lap you've burned. So when that's empty, you are not allowed to deploy anymore. And lastly, we'll talk about when we start this final flying lap, because we did improve to an 18.5, puts us provisional P17 at the moment. You can see down at the bottom of that dial, there's a little wheel-looking object. That's your recovery. So the amount that you're allowed to recover over a lap, that's got a little red bar that'll fill up and encircle it. And when you fill that bar up completely by regenerative braking and the MGU-H, once that bar is completely filled, you will be at reduced harvesting rate. So you can see under the gears it says harvesting. When you hit that reduced harvesting, it will turn orange, and as will the battery percentage, and it'll say reduced harvesting. So you won't be able to grab as much energy. We were a little wide in turn 3 on that lap, so that's cost us a bit of time. We're trying to make some of it up on the second pair of DRS zones around the track. Of course, very quick chicane, flick left, flick right. Job done. DRS open. We found about 0.2 of a second. We are running pretty low on the battery though, and we are a little bit wide of the apex
P21 for us. P21.
on that right here. Leclerc goes to the top of the time, into the 16s, so we've definitely got quite a gap to the leaders. But out of the final corner, on the power. We've lost a little bit on the exit, but we are going to find just about 0.3 of a second from P21. We jump up to P19. So towards the back of the grid here, but not last, which I think is big.
Up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
And the other question is, where did our teammate go? In fact, just ahead of us, P18. So we were only a couple of hundredths, or a couple of tenths rather, off of our teammate. He was about 2 tenths ahead. But now, let's head over to the Grand Prix.
That you've all been coping with so well can now be put to the back of your minds. It's on-track action and it's off-track drama. That's what we're looking forward to. So here we are at Albert Park Circuit, 3.28 miles around, with the streets making for a bumpy surface with little undulation. There are 14 corners around the lake, with the best passing opportunities coming at turn 1 and turn 3. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And starting next to them is George Russell. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Hamilton, Antonelli, Oscar Piastri and Verstappen, Norris, Gasly, Behrman and Alex Albon, Bortoletto, Fernando Alonso, Yuki Tsunoda and Stroll, Hadjar, Pierce, Nico Hülkenberg and Victor Martins, Ocon, Sainz, Lawson and Jack Doohan rounds off the grid. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. And joining me in the commentary box today with the best view on what is about to unfold and some strong views on the action we're about to see, Naomi Schiff. New season, new dawn, and now 22 cars and 11 teams on the grid.
First of all, this is such an exciting time. I mean, to have an 11th team on the grid is exciting news for the sport. But for them today, I guess you would be really nervous. It's the first time you're going to be doing this. There is so much to learn. But at the end of the day, they've got to remember that expectations aren't that high. They've all been there before. They've all had their first race, and no one is expecting them to land on the top of the podium. So just learn to walk before you can run.
Okay, back of the grid. It's not great, but let's make the most of it. Good luck.
So here we are at our classic strategy screen. Because of the amount of tire wear that I expect our poor car to have, I'm actually taking a look at the two-stop, considering it around this one. Because I feel like it would just be absolute pain, weeping, and gnashing of teeth trying to one-stop the car around here. So we're looking at some set of 2 mediums and a soft. Originally looking at it with going soft first, but I do consider, after got to make the fuel adjustments, I think I want to go more starting medium, and then go soft at the end, so we're nice and quick in the final stages where that soft tire can really come to life and try and make some moves. It's not impossible to overtake around Australia here, so we will get on with it and see where we can go in the overall race. This is me continuing to fiddle around. But a couple of things that are a little bit different that I've noticed, in addition to the increased tire wear, slipstream seems a little bit more powerful being in the wheel tracks of another car. But also, really importantly, is the dirty air effect appears to be much stronger. Well, I mean, it definitely is. I can feel it. It's much stronger when you're following a car in this game. It was basically non-existent in the previous games. This one, you can really feel it if you're up behind a car nice and close. You really get that big chunk of understeer when you're trying to turn, especially in high downforce, requiring corners. So looking to find some clean air is another reason why the two-stop looks to be an attractive strategy. Theoretical seems to be about 10 seconds slower than the one-stop, but it's always about, how fast can the car actually go? But here we are on the grid. The 5 red lights for the first time this season. Pretty long hold, and out they go. A good launch off the line. tucking up right behind our teammate. Actually have to get out of the throttle a little bit. We've got Hulkenberg on the outside, as is Hajar. We'll try and tuck in, leave some space for our teammate. Not really attack him, but at least give us some move to get some space on Hajar. Have to check up coming out of turn 1 there, and now we're going to look to the inside of turn 3. On the brakes, nearly level with Stroll there. We're going to go around the outside of our teammate for turn 5. And we should be able to get the power down around him, and now we've gotten by Joshua Pierce. Big lift out as I took a heap of dirty air coming through that fast right-hander and trying to just kind of settle down and feel the car, especially with the extra weight of fuel on board, which you really don't do much practice running with at all. So now, using some battery to close up on the back of the cars ahead. And this is the sector where we really have the opportunity to gain on the AI a lot. Turn 6, we seem to be very quick on entry to that compared to the AI. And then we just take so much more curb in that high-speed chicane than the AI. That does give us an opportunity to make a run. But AI still very strong on corner exit, especially corner exits where you have mid-high speed, need to modulate the throttle like this final corner. You can see just how much they launch off that corner compared to us and get a big run down the pit straight. So that's something we will have to take into account when we get to other tracks, kind of see where we're strong, where we're weak compared to other cars. Another thing that has changed this season is it does appear that the off-track stuff like grass and gravel that you can kind of pick up by taking a lot of curbing, does appear to affect the tire grip a lot more than it used to. So the usual strategies of taking a heap of curb and just barely keeping the outside tires in and putting a bunch of grass on the tire doesn't seem to be as viable of a strategy to run anymore. So it's another thing to keep in mind as we go. But we're just settling into the first race of the season here. We've made up a couple spots. We're just ahead of our teammate, and now looking for the field to kind of spread out a little bit. With that DRS enabled here, we can try and catch up to the cars ahead and get ourselves in position to make some overtakes. We are on the aggressive strategy, so we do need to just kind of try and make some moves happen. As down the inside, having a little look into turn 10, not quite alongside enough. We're going to have to back out of it. Lance Stroll is going to hold his place in front of us there, and we will wind up and get ourselves in position to try and go for it another time. Really not a lot of opportunity for us to make moves into turn 1 in this race, I would expect, unless we get really good tire offset, just because the AI gets that rear traction down so much better than we do. And also, it's a rear limited circuit, so the back end is going to get worn out a lot faster than what we do. So here we are headed down into turn 3, started lap 3, up into 15th place, and ooh, big checkup as, for whatever reason, that car went very slow. Not sure why. It was a weird thing, probably a little bit of a bug with the AI. But yeah, and you can see I touched the left grass there and really understeered out, trying to make that right-hand corner, and it cost me quite a bit of speed. Yeah, a little bug in the AI there. The Sauber just going very slowly through turn 5, kind of dropping off the cars ahead. In fact, there's an overtake made at the front of that group. But luckily, we have the opportunity to kind of catch back up because we are in what is typically our strong sector. And here we go for a bigger lunge up the inside of Lance Stroll. This time, we've got the space. We're staying alongside. We're going to have the inside for the next corner. And it's going to force him to hang out. He's staying right there with us. But we are just about going to get ahead of Lance Stroll as we enter the final corner. Does cost us quite a bit of ground to Fernando Alonso, so we're going to burn a lot of battery down the pit straight. You can see him in the rear view mirror, closing, and it is going to cost us quite a bit of that electrical energy in order to make sure he didn't immediately re-attack us because we lost that DRS, which is not all that helpful. But 0.3 is not an insurmountable margin, especially with clean air on the nose. You can see we've already made up a couple of tenths. And a little snap of oversteer exiting turn 5 there. And now here's where we really gain. On the brakes into this corner, trim it right down, and we will just barely get inside that DRS detection point. So we will get the help of that opened up rear wing. And away we go. They're making a little bit more ground on us, but of course, one detection point covers both of those DRS zones, this one included. So even though we were a little further back coming into the couple of corners, we'll now be able to close right back up. And we're going to have to start thinking about our battery a little bit more because we are down to 20%. We will get a decent amount back. This final sector is one of the better opportunities to recharge the battery. But we are about to have to spend a lot of it. Big snap of oversteer coming out of the final corner. Puts Lance Stroll right on our gearbox. We do still have DRS, but we once again have to use lots of battery power in order to hold off the charge of the Aston Martin behind us. And at a phase we're trying to conserve the battery a little bit, we had to spend a bunch of it. You can see rear tires getting a little bit on the warm side, but you can push on quite decently without them getting up too high. It does look like the meta at the moment is maximum pressure. So jumping ahead, lap 7 of 29 now. Nico Hülkenberg is out, hence why we're up a position. And we have closed back up to Lance Stroll. We've got Gabriel Bortoleto and Fernando Alonso just ahead of us. And he had a little shape of a move, but we decided not to go for it this time. We do get a very good run out of this chicane. So opening up the DRS in the slipstream, can we have the opportunity to go up the inside? We're not going to burn a lot of battery. We are just going to try and make a carbon copy move on Alonso that we did on Stroll. Put him out a little bit onto the exit curbing, and that job is done. This time without costing us so much time to the car ahead. So much cleaner run than we did getting through Lance Stroll in the same corner. And we managed to stay with the DRS. We are going to have to burn some battery because he is so close and the slipstream is plenty powerful. And here we are going through the yellow flag zone as there is the stricken car of Nico Hülkenberg out in this first race. 21 of the 22 cars still running in this one. And we are approaching our pit window very shortly, but we do have a Kick Sauber in front of us that's on some soft tires that I'm assuming are pretty unhappy with the level of grip they're providing. There's Mercedes and Alpine out ahead of us. It'll be Kimi Antonelli, and I believe that'll be Pierre Gasly. I think Doohan started last. I don't think he's made it past us. Our teammate just on the other side of the two Aston Martins, so still staying quite well with us. And his pace is looking pretty good, but there we go, getting a move done on that Sauber into the chicane. A little guarded by the wall there, but job is finished, and now we can strike out, trying to catch up to what could be points-paying positions. Mercedes of Kimi Antonelli. He's definitely getting a little bit of the classic Cody's rookie punishment, because the rookies typically are pretty slow. But Kimi Antonelli in the real world, very much a different beast. He's been quite quick throughout the season and has been fighting inside the top 10, no problem, while his teammate is up at... Looks like George Russell might be actually leading this race right now. Huh. I wonder if one of the leaders has come in for a two-stop. But here we are, just about catching up to the back of Kimi Antonelli. Fernando Alonso has come along with us. It looks like a little gap could be starting to open up between him and his teammate. It looks like just over a second now between them. So that is going to make the job a little tougher for our teammate, because he's going to need to get past Lance Stroll. And did we get just inside that 1 second? We did. So we do get DRS on Antonelli as we come up to the 1/3 mark of this race, and what will be our first pit stop. Going from the medium to the medium tire, so same for same. But that will get us out and into some clean air. It looks like rejoin in just about last place. I don't know that that's particularly accurate, though, because I believe later in the race it said something different. We're going to jump ahead one extra lap. Antonelli has come into the pit lane, as a few others, so we are running 11th, and now into the pit lane we come. So on the brakes, get the car slowed down, no penalties there. And here is one of my first forgetful moments. I do get the turn in right as we go, so it'll be a nice quick stop time. Tires off, tires on, but I forget that I need to hit the clutch and the throttle and get out of the pit lane. So it cost me probably about half a second or so. And here we are on the power. Kimi Antonelli coming down the outside, hard on the brakes into turn 1. And we just about get out ahead of Kimi Antonelli. However, we're going to have to burn a lot of battery, and our tires are not up to temperature. That puts Lance Stroll in an attacking position on him, and you can see how wide we are just trying to get the car rotated before the tires have gotten themselves up to operating temperature. Lance Stroll on the hard tires actually getting ahead of Kimi Antonelli.
So we've got to warm up our tires and get the most out of it. Come on.
See, that was actually some useful banter from Mark here. There's a lot of unuseful banter from him, I will say, quite certainly. But that one, telling us kind of if we're racing the car behind or if they're on a different strategy, that part's nice. We'll jump ahead a little further once again. We've got Stroll all over the gearbox, as is Esteban Ocon. Based on the pit cycles that they've shaken out, we are just now going past Doohan, back to 17th. So Stroll with a big run. Now we've got Ocon on the inside, and we're just going to try and squeeze him out, hold that position. We are going to have to burn quite a bit of battery because, again, no DRS for us down this straight. They're both detected by the same zone that is the pit straight. But now Lance Stroll on those hard tires has gotten ahead of us. We can't let him get too far away, and we haven't as we jump to lap 14 of 29. Just about the halfway point, and with the DRS open, go right around the outside, and job is done on him. And now to use this DRS, we're burning a little bit of battery to try and close to the DRS gap. Ollie Behrman, Gabriel Bortoleto, and Pierre Gasly, this gaggle of 3 cars just ahead of us as well. Lando Norris sets the fast lap of the race on 120.311 out in what would appear to be the pack. It looks like Oscar Piastri has stayed out quite a ways, and here we are coming off the final corner, quite close to the group ahead, but car coming out of the pit lane as well. We're just going to try and take it a little safe, a little touch to the rear of Gasly. We're going to get a good run. A little too much curve, a little snap, maybe a brush to the wall there. And now using the overtake, the DRS down into turn 3. Tries to defend, holds the inside, keeps us tight to the corner, but we are able to swoop around the outside of turn 4 there and get the job finished on that one. So now Ollie Behrman just ahead, Gabriel Bortoleto, so that should help us get past the hard tire runners. And again, with the 2-stop strategy, need to be pressing on as much as we can. A jump ahead, lap 16, but in a similar spot. Once again, DRS is open. Good run as Bortoleto actually ends up kind of blocking in Behrman. Double overtake as he didn't have the DRS around him and into the chicane. Now looking ahead, Yuki Tsunoda, P11, with Isaac Hadjar just ahead of him. So we are starting to knock on the door of some points. Of course, we do have one more stop to go, so we will have quite a bit of a job ahead of us to make it past all these cars that we're already passing on the soft tires. Into the pit lane goes one of the cars. I believe that was the Red Bull of Yuki Tsunoda. Is it? No, yes, it was. And then there's a Williams just kind of going. Oh, no. Red Bull's still out there. Yuki Tsunoda's still on track. So somebody was in the pit lane. Couldn't tell who. Might have been Isaac Hadjar. I think that might be Liam Lawson just a little further ahead. But gotta say, looks game is driving pretty smoothly. There are some bugs to avoid. I know there's been a pretty big one that's been found. If you use rewind while in the pit lane, it appears to kind of reset the AI difficulty down to the default of 30 something. So definitely going to be mindful of avoiding that. And here we are jumping ahead, lap 21 of 29.
Box this lap, please. Box this
with
lap.
the DRS around the outside of Behrman and getting ourselves clean air for the last few corners, as this is where it happens. We are coming in for our final pit stop of the race, getting on those soft tires, and we'll see where we come out in this one and just how much ground we are going to have to make up to get to the finish in this one. Of course, getting back into the points would be great. Catching up to our teammate is kind of goal number 1 to see if we are on pace with him. Because that'll also just be kind of an indicator of what if the difficulty is set decently. I think Based on qualifying, it looks decent. It might be, one of the reasons that I got turned off of 24 last year was after a couple of patches, the AI was just probably 10 points, 10 AI difficulty points faster in qualifying than they were in the race, in my opinion. Like, I was able to take a race where I qualified dead last and put a car on the podium as a result in that one, keeping it same difficulty. This one seems to be a little more balanced, as right out of the gate we are under attack. They do have the hard tire on, but we've got to get this car up to temperature. And by car, I mean tires. We do manage to just hang on, but he is going to have a pretty big run at us down the next DRS zone. So it's all about getting a really good exit from here. In fact, we do quite well. And you can see now the job we have to do. We are P15. 4 seconds ahead. And there goes Ocon engine dying on him. You can see the yellow flags behind us, and that white dot on the minimap is just gone. So some work to do. Only 7 laps left to go in this race. And we have a ways to go. Our teammate just about now entering the final corner of the track. So jumping ahead, lap 24 of 29, switching inside, outside to get around Hajar, getting the job done as fast as we can. We do outbrake ourselves and go a little bit deep on that one, but we do manage to keep the car just on circuit and get through as we are in the process of setting a personal best lap on these soft tires. Use quite a bit of battery for it, but that is going to get us past one of the Racing Bulls. And we do indeed set a personal best lap, 20.599. 2.4 seconds now to catch up to Carlos Sainz. And here we are, lap 26. We've caught him up. DRS open on that one. And here we are making the run on Liam Lawson. Do we go for it? Switch to the inside. And indeed, we just about keep our nose in and get the fastest middle sector of the race in the process of getting 2 overtakes done. And now with just 3 laps left, we have our teammate Joshua Pierce on the hard tire, 2 seconds ahead of us. But at this stage, these soft tires are really starting to feel the pain of all the pushing we've put them through. And you can see the corrections I'm needing to make, how tentative I'm having to be on the throttle out of these corners. Rear limited circuit, and it's starting really to feel like it now. In fact, you can see our teammate made a couple of tenths in that one lap. But here we are starting the final lap of this race. We are P11 with our teammate in the points. 1.2 seconds ahead of us. Little bit of a slide coming out of turn 1 and 2. Can we close the gap on him in this middle sector? Be close enough for the double dose of DRS to give us an opportunity to overtake. Another slide coming out of turn 3. Turn 4, so the rear tires really have had enough in this race, using as much track as we dare in the exit of turn 5. You see once again now taking a fair bit of curb, just staying in. And here we go. It looks like we might be just about in the DRS zone. Rear wing does flip open, but the battery is very low. We don't have a lot to deploy, and we do have a pretty unhappy set of rear tires. So through the high-speed chicane, flicking left, flicking right. A little slide on the exit has robbed us of momentum. Rear wing open, battery deploying, having a look to the inside and thinking better of it. First race as a team, don't want to cost us points by making an egregious send down into there. I would like to think that team orders would probably be at play from, well, there it is. I'm the team principal, technically. And so you can see how much I'm having to baby it out of the last corner. But a P10, P11 result for the team, very good for the first time out, I would say. And let's see who we got. Liam Lawson got driver of the day. Really not sure what he did over the course of this one. Might have to go back and look at it.
We're going to be hearing that Dutch national anthem again because it's victory for Max Verstappen.
And to get a victory at the first race of the season, this might be a sign of things to come. One thing's for sure is that this performance will be giving the team and the driver relief and confidence going into the rest of the season.
It's what they've all been racing towards, waiting for them. High above the pit lane is our podium. And for the lucky three, it's time to stand on it. One of the all-time greats celebrates yet again. It's another podium, it's another top step for Max Verstappen. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport action. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Yep, so Verstappen on the top step, Leclerc and Russell rounding out the podium. I mean, I think the difficulty setting is pretty good. Overall top pace, obviously a little better because I was on the 2-stop. Finishing right there with my teammate, so I think that's about right. So we'll see if that continues. Obviously, track to track, it varies quite a bit, but I typically stick to the mantra of you're just going to have good and bad tracks like real people. It's not so crazy to try and go and find the right difficulty for every single track. Typically like to leave it set and kind of let it go. Yeah, and we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Obviously, Australia is a track that I have a lot of experience with. You can abuse the curb. Typically, it's going to be tracks you can abuse the curbs. Probably going to be able to catch the AI a little better. Ones you have to be more
Chief, we've got multiple
to their
parts
same
under
racing
research.
line.
Don't forget to
Probably going to
develop
have to
them. But we've got
work a little
performance
harder.
sitting on the table that we could be getting into the car.
Here we are at advancing. We've got message. There we go. Points on the board. Pretty good start. 1 point. We only need to score 10 over the course of the season in order to meet our title sponsor's goal. So fantastic start. We've got 2,000 resource points already. That might need to be adjusted. That's a lot of resource points for basically 1 week. We'll see how the first few races play out. It's possible I might make an adjustment to reduce the resource rate of the player team to balance it out. I mean, we don't want to become world champions unrealistically quickly. But now you can see some of the discounts coming into play. Instead of 440, that costs 300. 440, that costs 339. So doing those practice programs definitely helps move the scale forward. I don't want to restrict myself to not doing the practice programs. I definitely need the laps around the track, and it helps set the strategies. But we should have some development done for the other cars. Both cars will have the initial aero and weight distribution upgrades in alignment before the start of the Chinese Grand Prix. The gearbox is ready. Who gets the gearbox materials? I think I give it to Pierce. Yeah, I give it to Pierce. So he's got the next ones, and this is just kind of checking out so that you have parts you can move from car to car if you want to swap it while they're not in alignment. Then once they're in alignment, they'll show up in that fixed parts because both cars will have it. Still at the bottom of the tech grid there, but I mean, it's like I said, it's a tight field. Seems to be quite good.
Satisfactory, Chief.
Opportunity to go. So, another event in the engineering facility. Let's see what it is. Oh, this is just the results. So he gets extra focus for the additional... what's the word I'm looking for? Sim time. But there we have it. Of course, as always, the first episode is going to be long because it has all the setup. But now we've done all the stuff we need to. In this one, we're straight into the racing for episode 2. The Chinese Grand Prix sprint weekend, though. So actually, it'll probably be a longer episode as well because there's 2 qualifying sessions and 2 races to do. It'll probably be similar length to this one. But thank you all for joining me so much. It's fun to get back to this, and we'll see how we can make this team go. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.